You're thinking about selling your house, so you might be wondering, should I save money by doing it myself or hire a professional, a realtor? Well, before you choose one, you should know both the risks and rewards of selling your house on your own so that you don't go into this blindly and make mistakes that you could have avoided and that can potentially cost you just as much, if not more, as what you were trying to save. So let's break down the pros and cons of selling your house on your own versus using a real estate agent. The first pro is the potential savings on realtor fees and commissions. This is probably the biggest reason that homeowners choose to sell their house on their own, because it goes without saying that you want to make the most amount of money on the sale of your house, and who can blame you? After all is said and done, all your mortgage payoffs have been paid, any second liens, your taxes, title fees, closing fees, and so forth, you want to net as much money as possible, and this makes total sense. If you're able to successfully sell your house for the amount that you want in the time frame that you want and don't incur any additional expenses along the way, then you could potentially be saving a hefty amount of money by not paying realtor commissions. Pro number 2, you have full control over the entire process. This is another big one for sellers who want to be in the driver's seat during the sale of their house. You want to make all the decisions when it comes to pricing your home, marketing it, negotiating the offers that come in, completing the contracts and legal paperwork, navigating the transaction and timelines from start to finish, including choosing the best offer, setting up escrow, communicating with the title companies and attorneys, preparing any addendums or special forms that the transaction calls for, overcoming inspections, appraisals, the final walkthrough, and any and all surprises that come up along the way before the closing date. If you're this kind of seller, then by all means, selling by owner might be the better option for you. Also, if you've sold any homes previously and have experienced the process firsthand, preferably multiple times, and have been successful in doing so, then that's another indicator that you might be just fine doing it again on your own. And I mentioned that it's preferable if you've done this multiple times, just because every transaction is a little different than the last and has its nuances. So if you've dealt with different situations and have overcome them, then all the more power to you. And this is a feat that you're probably experienced enough to conquer. Pro number 3 is if you already have a buyer lined up. If you already have a buyer lined up, you are halfway there. This could be a friend, a family member, a neighbor, or anyone really who wants to buy your house and who qualifies to buy it. Whether they're purchasing with cash or financing, it's important to make sure and verify that they actually have the funds to purchase it and or strong enough financing that the deal won't fall apart halfway through. So if this is the case and you've screened your potential buyer and are sure that they're solid, then you've won half the battle. You don't have to spend time, money, and energy on things like creating a marketing plan or a sales strategy, or creating a listing, putting it on various websites, showing buyers, hosting open houses, printing flyers, door knocking, cold calling, email blasting, and so on to find a potential buyer, because you already have one. Now, is this buyer the best offer, the strongest buyer, the deal that is most certainly going to reach the closing table? Those are a few questions that can come up when you don't put your house on the open market. And if you're not concerned about those things because, well, you just want to sell your house to this specific person, maybe they're your son, your daughter, your mom, whoever it is, you just want it to go to them regardless of any other reason, then that's totally fine. And I would even say it's admirable and so sweet. But I did mention though that having the buyer is only half the battle. The other half is everything I've already mentioned about actually selling a house and going through the whole transaction. If you know how to do all this, then by all means. But if you don't, there are quite a few areas of the contract and a transaction where you can be putting yourself or the buyer at risk. And if it comes to that and the deal eventually falls through, then having a buyer really didn't make much of a difference. Okay, so those were some of the pros of selling your house on your own. The potential savings on commissions, you're in total control, and being ahead of the game if you already have a buyer lined up. Now let's take a look at some of the potential cons of selling your own house. The first con is that it's time consuming. Selling a house comes with a lot of responsibilities. Managing showings, open houses, marketing, negotiations, timelines, paperwork, legalities, and so forth all take a significant amount of time, preparation, and expertise. And for homeowners with full-time jobs and personal lives, it might be a little bit overwhelming. The old saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. And that's especially true in this case. If you're not well experienced in selling homes, you might underestimate the amount of time, energy, and brain work you'll need to dedicate to it to make sure that everything goes smoothly, nothing falls through the cracks, or is innocently forgotten about because you're not used to doing this, which is understandable at the end of the day because, well, this is not your profession. And although it's understandable because you're busy, making a mistake like forgetting to collect your buyer's escrow deposit or not receiving the appraisal report back from the bank before your buyer's loan approval period has expired can put you and the buyer in a bad position. These are legally binding contracts that should be followed to a T and in accordance to the terms that both parties, you, the seller, and the buyer, agreed upon. If they're not, then either party can take legal action, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that nobody wants to go there. The second con is pricing challenges, and there are three main pricing challenges that I see time and time again with FSBO sellers. The first one is that you usually don't have enough comparable market data to accurately price your house. Seeing Zestimates on Zillow or the prices of houses that are being listed for sale in your neighborhood without actually having sold yet are not accurate indicators of what you should price your house at. In order to price accurately, we need to see recent closed sales of homes similar to yours with the same or similar number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot size, upgrades in the same neighborhood or subdivision, and so forth. And sometimes a computer or an algorithm can't accurately understand these things. Realtors have access to real-time data taking place in your area that we can modify and make more specific to your house to get true comparable information. The second pricing challenge I see is overpricing. I understand that you want to get the most amount of money for your house, and the common idea with that seems to be price high to test the waters and see who bites, right? Well, in my experience selling homes, this usually backfires on you more than it helps you. 9 times out of 10, not to say 10 times out of 10, overpriced homes will sit on the market for longer, have multiple price reductions, and then when they've been reduced so many times to a finally accurate price, they'll then usually receive offers for even lower than that because the buyer or their realtor will see the house's pricing history, see all the times it's been reduced, wonder what's wrong with it, why hasn't anyone else wanted it, and then offer something even lower than the current asking price because if you've lowered it that much, then we can probably get away with a little bit more. And who can blame them for thinking that way? We probably would too if we were on the buying side. Now, had you priced accurately from the start, then the buyer's mindset would most likely be different. The third pricing challenge I see is having an emotional attachment to your home. And this ties into my last point of overpricing because you're relating all of the memories that you've created in your home to setting its price. And as we can probably all agree, happy memories are priceless. You can't put a tag on them. That's why doing this is usually not a good mix. And I can understand how this happens, having sold my childhood home's neighbor's house where my brothers and I and basically all of our friends grew up together. But at that point, as hard as it may be, it's important to take off your personal hat and put on your professional one so that you're not clouding your judgment with your emotions because it's going to hinder your ability to actually sell your house. Overpricing because of emotions will have the same negative effect as overpricing to test the waters and see what bites. Most buyers won't relate to the same kind of emotion that you're experiencing simply because they didn't live it. Con number 3 is limited market exposure. So as a for sale by owner or FSBO, you can list your house on various websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook Marketplace, and others for free. If you also wanted to get your house on the MLS without a realtor to increase your exposure even more, then there are other websites that offer what's called a limited service listing as opposed to a full service listing, which would be when a realtor lists your house for you. For the limited service listing that you'd get on your own, you'll usually pay that website a flat fee and then they'll add your property to the MLS for more exposure. The MLS is a huge database of properties for sale that usually only realtors have access to through their yearly fees and memberships with the National Association of Realtors. So it's important to be on the MLS because that's where realtors are searching day in and day out for homes for their buyers. And if you're not on there, you're potentially missing out on a huge chunk of potential buyers. Keep in mind though that even if you do choose to go for the limited service listing to get your house on the MLS, there are still some websites that your property probably won't appear on, like Redfin or Realtor.com, which gives priority to full service listings, and luxury or boutique brokerage websites or certain franchise brokerage websites that usually also only pull full service listings from the MLS. And that's important to consider because statistics show that almost all buyers, at 94% of them, look online when searching for a house. So if you wanted to give yourself the best chance of finding the best buyer and the highest offer for your house, then you definitely want to be everywhere that they're searching. Con number 4 is the potential legal risks. Selling and buying a house is full of complex paperwork and legal requirements, and without a professional overlooking all of the terms of the contract and how the transaction is moving along, then possible mistakes can lead to costly disputes or even lawsuits. To give you some examples, failure to disclose known known conditions of your house could potentially get you sued for fraud or misrepresentation. Errors on the contract, like not specifying key dates, contingencies, or including vague language instead of specific language, can result in misunderstandings or breaches of contract. Not following fair housing laws, like not discriminating based on race, religion, disability, and so forth, can potentially lead you to discrimination lawsuits. And there are so many other scenarios that, if you're not familiar with them, can get you in a lot of trouble and be very costly to resolve, whether you're guilty of them or not. So now the question is, are you ready to sell your house on your own without a realtor? Well, in my opinion, if you're the kind of person that's had experience selling homes in the past and you understand the importance of accurate pricing, marketing, you've successfully negotiated terms on contracts, have a trusted group of professionals that you know for sure won't drop the ball halfway through a deal, like title companies, real estate attorneys, inspectors, appraisers, and contractors or handymen in case anything in the property needed to be addressed, and have the time to dedicate to actually getting your home sold, then I'd say you're pretty well suited to do this on your own. There may still be challenges and unfamiliar territory during the sale because no two deals are exactly the same, but if you check off all of what was previously mentioned, then you probably have a good chance of coming out winning. But on the flip side, if you don't have any of this experience and don't know of anyone to help guide you through it, then I would not risk it. There are too many areas and too many phases of a contract that can get you in real trouble. And what you would have saved on commissions and fees and marketing will go out the window on attorney's fees and legal fees. And the worst part is that you'd probably end up not even selling your house at all at that point. But obviously, either option is completely up to you. I'd love the opportunity to help you however I can, whether it be listing your home with the best possible strategy for your particular house because you realize it's a little bit too much for you, or cheering you on because you want to try it out on your own at first. All I'd say is just be careful. Cross your T's, dot your I's, and keep a calendar with you closely. Also, if you're thinking about downsizing or moving into a smaller home, I've got a free guide for you that you can download, also down in the description, just to make sure that's actually what you want to do. Take care, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.